There's another Transformers movie in the theater. Should you roll out to go see it? We've got some thoughts about this. Welcome to the Cinefanatics. My name's Robert Adams.
I'm Chris Adams.
And we're here with a non-spoiler review for Transformers Rise of the Beasts.
In the darkness.
Into darkness. Beyond. I feel like we're just naming the Star Trek subtitles. War. Insurrection.
Bumblebee 2.
Bumblebee Tuna.
Bumblebee Tuna!
First off, it's nice to be back into a world that has decent Transformers movies again.
That's saying a whole lot, honestly.
Like, I was still left with the impression, I think you were too, that when they announced that this new Transformers movie comes out, even though we both liked Bumblebee, we were both like, why?
Okay, sure.
I was like, you're not... and I think the first thing right off the bat was because this movie was not being directed by Travis Knight. So I felt like, I know me personally, I felt like Travis Knight was really like the linchpin on what made Bumblebee good. Mm-hmm. And by moving to a different director, I'm like, you're taking away one of the main things that we could tell that was different between Bumblebee and the previous Transformers movies. And changing that is just leading yourself into falling back to old habits of movies that I know, frankly, we kind of just gave up on.
But then, of course, they announced that Stephen Caple Jr. is the one directing it. We know that he did Creed 2 and did a good job with Creed 2. Mm-hmm. And so I'm kind of going into this going, okay, well, he's someone who is very capable of potentially handling this. I think this is probably going to be in good hands. I'm still not inherently excited about another Transformers movie, but at least I know that when it comes to the creatives behind it, we're probably going to get something along the same lines as Bumblebee. Hopefully.
And then I know, like, another thing that I was hesitant about was the fact that they were bringing on the beasts, the Maximals, reaching out to, like, Beast Wars, which, if you've seen any of our trailer reactions, neither one of us were really familiar with Beast Wars. That was beyond when I was watching cartoons. I don't think you were.
I just never really got into Transformers when I was younger at all.
Yeah. So therefore we're like, great, they're going to now try to force the Beast Wars into a Transformers movie, much like they did with the Dinobots before, which was just shoehorned in and it was just terribly done.
On the flip side, though, they actually did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think it actually worked pretty well, all things considered. This is a good follow-up to Bumblebee. There's a couple of things that are lacking on this movie. We said it on the Out of the Theater reaction. This isn't going to be like the Citizen Kane of Transformers. It is...
I don't think you can ever get a Citizen Kane of Transformers.
It is obviously setting up a bigger movie that's bound to happen later on. Yeah. And I think I've seen, like, on the internet, someone, I forgot who it was, but, like, where it was a producer or someone was saying that this Rise of the Beast is the first in a new trilogy of Transformers movies. That Bumblebee was kind of like the carryover to, like, forget the Bayformers. We're coming back to basics with this, and then we're going to have this Rise of the Beast be what starts it off.
That's interesting because this movie does have a connection. It still has a connection to the Bumblebee movie.
Yes.
So I understand, like, there's the idea that was, like, kind of the spin-off of sorts, but I still feel like that was number one in whatever's happening now.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to be said there because, I mean, it doesn't feel like this should be the first of a trilogy. It feels like this is a solid middle movie in a trilogy, but if you want to go beyond the trilogy, you absolutely can.
So the reason I see it from the perspective of this being the first in a trilogy, and that, the Bumblebee movie was the reboot. Mm-hmm. This is a movie that's setting up where we're going to go from here. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I really like about the way that they're doing that is look at the trailers. The first trailer came out, we got Optimus Prime, we've got the Maximals. We get the idea that this is a Beast Wars Transformers crossover movie. Cool. We got that second trailer. That second trailer is what showed us Unicron is in this movie, which both of us immediately were like, whoa. Okay, that immediately changed our opinion.
Especially because Unicron wasn't a stupid thing inside the planet Earth.
Yeah. That they're actually going to do Unicron properly this time.
Give it justice.
And so that's the first sign that this is a new trilogy and a whole new saga, basically. And that's what this movie feels like. This movie is if I'm going to say anything really negative about this movie, it's very basic. It is a very simple story.
The term formulaic is one that gets thrown around a lot. I think there isn't anything about this movie that is too out there and too exciting, or we haven't seen this done before kind of a situation. There are some aspects of things that kind of go back to things you've seen before in a wide breadth of various Transformers history.
Or like any movie in general at all.
Well, I'm specifically talking about some things that have occurred in Transformers past that show up in this movie, and it's a lot of fun to see those things brought into this movie. But for the most part, it still doesn't feel like it's diverting too far away from the formula of what we've been used to of Transformers so far. The only thing really missing from the Transformers movies at this point,
Linkin Park.
Well, yeah. Okay, so the only two things missing from Transformers movies at this point is Linkin Park and or Green Day. And the goofy humor that those first movies, that really brought down those first movies.
Yeah, which I'm glad for. But like I'm looking at the checklist of Transformers. How to make a Transformers movie 101. We've got human characters that we're supposed to care about. Yeah. Check. They really don't matter. They're just there as the analog for the audience. Check. You've got a simple story of good guy versus bad guy. Check. You've got a MacGuffin, whether it's the Allspark, an Energon Cube,
the Matrix of Leadership.
Now it's some key thing that opens portals in outer space. Check. You got a sky beam. Check.
Oh, but
2 or 3 of them, actually.
Humans can't see the sky beam, don't worry.
Oh, but the humans can't see. Yeah, so whatever. You've got a sky beam. This is like anyone could have written this movie.
It checks off a lot of the boxes.
Yeah.
All of that being said, it is still entertaining. It's still fun to watch. It's still a good time with our favorite transforming robot cars.
Yeah. And as far as like how this is going to build from here, going back to talking about that, because this is the movie that introduces Unicron. And I said it right out of the theater, I feel like Unicron was underused. We got some great shots of Unicron. If you're a Unicron fan from the animated movie back in the 80s, you're going to love what they do with him in this movie. But you're also going to hate it because they don't do too much with him. And that is where I think that I agree. This is the first in a brand new trilogy. They are going to be leading up to the mega epic final battle, like the Avengers Endgame. This is a movie that you know is going to be like balls to the wall, crazy, massively huge. That's where they're headed with this. And Unicron's going to be the main villain throughout the whole thing.
There's a lot of setup that this movie is absolutely doing, and I think that would be part of what kind of brings it down for me, is that we've gotten Bumblebee first, and now, okay, cool, we're jumping back into the Transformers again. I want to see some progression of storyline here of some sort, and it feels like this is, once again, kind of like a setup for a storyline, which is fine in taking into consideration what is the story going to be going forward. I don't mind a setup movie. I'm all for a setup movie. But you got to make sure you're sticking the landing on that setup later on down the line. Otherwise, basically what I'm saying is this movie could age good or it could age bad depending on what happens going forward.
Yeah.
They do a lot of really fun stuff with it. The characters in the movie are really great. Obviously, you have your human characters, and with Anthony Ramos kind of leading the way here, and Dominic Fishback also by his side. I think both of them did a very great job for what their roles required of them. Again, these are kind of characters that just kind of come from a nowhere kind of place and are just thrust into a bunch of action.
That just so happens to have the skills needed to help the Autobots and the Maximals in this story.
To be fair, the skills needed was we needed human-sized things.
Yeah, a lot of times that's what it was. Well, we can't do it, but the humans can. They're small enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they did a great job in service to what their roles required. As far as the voice talent I thought was great.
Yeah.
All the way around. I think you had Ron Perlman was Optimus Primal.
Yeah, Pete Davidson was a
blast as Mirage.
Peter Dinklage was Scourge. You got YouTuber Liza Koshy as RC.
I thought she did a great job too.
Yeah. And then you got Coleman Domingo as Unicron, which that was one of those things as a fan of the 80s cartoon, it's really hard to top Orson Welles as the voice of Unicron. I mean, his voice just has that power alone. Don't even look at the cartoon or the character of Unicron. You just hear it in the voice.
Yeah.
So anyone doing that voice was going to be an uphill battle. I do like Coleman Domingo as an actor. I loved him in the Candyman remake-ish of sorts. But yeah, I think he did pretty well as the voice of Unicron.
Yeah, you just need someone who's able to carry like a solid booming high presence voice.
Which all the voices have like some modulation and stuff.
Of course, they're all robots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I could still hear like Pete Davidson. I could still hear Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, 100%. But I think what each person brought to their role was not just their voice, but a specific personality. Pete Davidson brought the personality to Mirage. Yeah. Obviously, the character is animated on the screen, but I can see a lot of who Pete Davidson is as a person, as an actor, kind of coming through, which that might turn off some people out there, but
depends on how much you like Pete Davidson.
Sure, but at the same time, his character was a very heartwarming character.
Yeah.
I actually really, really enjoyed his character. It might be my favorite character in the movie.
This is actually probably one of his most endearing characters he's probably ever played. Yeah. Outside of like some of the parts of was it King of Staten Island?
Yeah,
that he was in. That was good as well. But voice talent all around, fantastic, phenomenal.
CGI was up to speed with Transformers. It is exactly what you expect. Looks like they put some heavy work into it, and I don't feel like there was any moments there was one moment, but I'm not going to say it because it's a spoiler. But outside of that one moment, pretty much everything else felt up to speed, felt exactly as you should expect for a Transformers movie.
Yeah, they've done a really good job of listening to the audience, especially the major complaint of the metal-on-metal fighting scenes.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to see now if someone's punching. You can see like clear I can't say that word. You can see clear
delineation.
Yes,
got it.
Between like an arm and the chest, the arm of one character, the chest of another, the face of another, the armpit.
That's because they've done a very good job improving the coloration of like the armor on the Transformers.
Yeah, like RC looks like RC from the cartoon. There's still a lot of random jumbled metal in there, and so something like that I have a hard time with. Like say Mirage, who for the most part Mirage was like silver, gray, blue, kind of mingles with all that metal. So in some cases, some of these characters, it's really hard to tell who I'm looking at because all your robots look the same. I'm just saying.
Wow.
It's just really hard to tell some of these characters, especially when, like, say, I remember, like, I know Scourge, but some of the other, like, henchmen that are with him, I really don't know who they are, when they flew past the screen. I didn't know exactly who I was looking at.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, though, like, I was keeping up with it. Obviously, the henchmen are orange and purple, and I was like, okay, those are the two.
I see an orange and
purple. Boom, got him. And I think that's where they've really, like, improved upon, like, the special aspects of each of the Transformers on the screen. For the most part, I think it was very serviceable. It's very, like, I have a hard time saying middle of the road because it wasn't bad. It wasn't inherently bad. It just wasn't exciting. It was good. It was serviceable. It did the job it needed to be done. They're setting up for some fun stuff in the future that's going to be interesting to see on screen. It was what it needed to be.
Yeah. I like that they still incorporated music that previously exists. So you still get that same Transformers theme that was created for the very first 2007 Transformers, which I think was like Steve Jablowski or did that. So you still have that theme in there. That still carries over, which is great because that's kind of synonymous now with the theatrical versions of Transformers. And you really don't have that much music. Transformers, other than the movie, the animated movie from the 80s, you don't have a whole lot of music for it. There's really only like the movie theme and the original cartoon theme, and that's about it. It's not like Spider-Man where there's like 50 different iterations of a Spider-Man theme, depending on which decade you're watching that cartoon.
Yeah. So you have to have some kind of baseline to attach to the movie itself.
Yeah.
And of course, this movie had a actual good use of popular music as well. Just fun sequences with various popular songs that pop up.
It was a lot of like 90s, like New York based rap needle drops in this. It was very heavy with like Wu-Tang Clan, LL Cool J, Nas. So
it was a lot of fun.
A lot of good 90s rap from like the East Coast. So if you're into that kind of music, fantastic. Notorious B.I.G. all in there. So
anyway, again, like I said, it was fun. It was fine. It did what it needed to do. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't an awful. It definitely is far superior to a solid chunk of the previous Transformers movies that came out.
Pretty much all of them, I would
almost
still
nearly
say.
all of them, if not. There's something about that first one. While the first one isn't great, it's still the first time we got to see the Transformers in live action, so it still does hold a special place, even if it's got some weird moments in it.
Yeah, that's the only one I would say question it. Without a doubt, this movie was better than all the rest of the Bayformers.
Yeah.
It's that first one, I agree. I'm kind of like, I don't know if it necessarily beats that out, but
it's still far superior to all of them. It's still also not taking the franchise necessarily in a direction that's like, whoa, Transformers, yes! Yeah. Which is kind of what you get with a lot of other big popular franchises nowadays, too.
Yep.
So, anyway, for me, I mean, middle of the road, 6.5, 7.
Yeah, that's where I'm probably going to go with this, a 7 as well. It's a great movie. Can't wait to watch it again, but I agree that this movie's really going to rely on what they do next to really give credence to that foundation that they're building with this movie. So,
yeah.
Anyways, that's going to do it for our review. What did you think of Transformers Rise of the Beast or this review? Let us know down below in the comments. While you're down there, make sure you also hit that like button and that subscribe button. We are inching closer to 2,000 subscribers as of this video, so please come join us. Doing a lot of fun, cool things, so yeah, be a part of that as we continue to grow here on our channel. You can follow us on social media at we are at the Cinefanatics on Instagram and Twitter. Got it. Yeah. Knew I could do it. I had the touch. But also you can follow me at Robert Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. Also youtube.com/@RobertAdamsMLP.
You can follow me at Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, as well as twitch.tv/ChrisAdamsMLP.
Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Autobots, roll out.
No, we're done rolling out. It's over.
Roll away.
Autobots, go grab a beer.
Get out of here.